These are the new metal releases for August 16, 2024. I have 5 albums to talk about. Lots of different genres, such as alternative metal, some thrash bands, some traditional heavy metal, and some tech death, which is kind of different. So let's get into this. The first band I have is called Razormouth, and the name of the album is Into the Inferno. It was released on August 17, 2024. They are a heavy rock and metal band. I think for me, they reminded me a lot of the alternative metal of the 90s, but they have a lot of different influences in there, so let me talk about them now. The album has 9 songs, and most of it sounds like 90s alternative metal, but there's some different stuff going on. For example, the opening track is called Ride or Die. This reminded me of alternative metal. I thought of the band Helmet at first, but what I like about the song is that it has a nice drum beat in the intro. The bass guitar sounds very good. The vocals are awesome. You can hear some high screams, and another thing I liked was the guitar riff was very catchy. There were some standout tracks, for example, track 3, Primal, reminded me of Alice in Chains, but I like the intro to the song because my first impression when I heard it, I thought of some 70s hard rock bands. For example, the band Kiss came to mind. They do some different stuff. For example, the song Diesel reminded me more of punk and hardcore, so I thought of the band Green Day, and the last song, Dread, was pretty cool because that one reminded me of Metallica from their Load albums. It had that type of sludgy, alternative, heavy guitar sounds. But throughout the album, you can get some great guitar bass playing. A couple of songs have cool drum intros. The vocals remind me of the 90s, and there are lots of cool guitar riffs. So this is a new band. I believe it's their debut album. I give this one an 8 out of 10. Pretty cool. If you like the 90s stuff, check it out. They're a really good band. The next band I have is Extinction A.D, and the name of the album is To the Detested. This is a thrash and hardcore band. They're from Long Island, New York. They've been active since 2013. This was an interesting album. The first half of the album gave me these thrash and groove metal vibes, and then there was one song towards the middle which kind of splits the album. Then towards the end, I felt it was more like traditional thrash. So let's talk more about this. The opening track, Desperate Grasp, was a pretty heavy thrasher. I felt it was leaning towards hardcore. It just had lots of palm-muted guitar riffs and a great sound. The song after that was one of my favorites called Escape from New York, and this one gave me a lot of Pantera vibes. It had more of a groove metal sound. You can hear it in the guitar riffs. There's this Dimebag Darrell influence. Then there's another song called Impervious Unrepentant, and I know that one has Matt Heafy from Trivium as a guest, but that one also gave me Pantera vibes. But there are some other cool songs on the first half, like Epidemic of Mutation, which kind of had an almost grungy type of sound, and Apocalypse Rising, which had a heavy stomp and some awesome double bass drumming. Then towards the middle of the album is the track Burnt Sienna. It kind of catches you off guard because it has these tribal drums, the lyrics are in Spanish, there are acoustic guitars, it sounds like Latin music, and it gave me a Sepultura Roots type of vibe. Although the second half of the song sounded a little bit more like the rest of the album, and then towards the end of the album there were 3 songs called Shepherding Swine, Behind the Veil of Sanctity, and The Cure or The Cause, and these ones reminded me more of traditional thrash, and these songs gave me a lot of Slayer vibes. So basically it's a good album. It's a mix of thrash and groove. If you like that type of stuff, my score is an 8 out of 10. It's a cool album. The band has had other albums. I may have listened to them, I'm not really sure. But I enjoyed this one, so check it out. The next band I have is Voodoo Kiss, and the album is Feel the Curse. This band has been around for a while. It says they were active from 1995 to 2000, but then they took a long break and came back in 2022. They are a German heavy metal band. The album has 8 songs, it's 34 minutes long. I would call it heavy metal, but there's a little bit of variety throughout the album. Basically, there are a lot of traditional heavy metal style guitar riffs. The vocals reminded me of a mix of Jeff Tate of Queensryche and Blaze Bayley from his Iron Maiden years. And Iron Maiden also plays a big role in their influence as well. So on the first song, Feel the Curse, was more of a traditional heavy metal song. It was a catchy song. Then they followed this up with Angel Demon, which was more of that heavy metal. But there was one cool breakdown in the song that was kind of sounded like reggae. And then the third song, Spellbound by Her Eyes, reminded me a lot of Iron Maiden, especially the guitar riff in the intro. And then at that point in the album, they start to experiment a little. The song Dr. Evil has this classical guitar intro, then goes into a heavy metal song, and then Lord of Darkness with female vocals, and I think I like this one of my favorite songs. Here's Then towards the end of the album, there were 3 more songs, Kiss or Kill, that reminded me of classic Iron Maiden, and the next song, On the Wings of Serpent Dreams, reminded me more of classic Queensryche, and the last song, Dead Without a Grave, was just some more traditional heavy metal. So it's a pretty fun album. It's a short album. The songs are catchy. It's enjoyable. My score is 7.5 out of 10. I think if you like classic Iron Maiden, classic heavy metal in general, it's worth checking out. The next album that I have is from a band called Amnessia, Eterna, and the album is called Penumbra. They're from Santiago, Chile, and they are a thrash and speed metal band. They've been active since 2016. This is their 3rd album. I found this band by chance by looking at the Metal Archives website. It's not too bad. It's mostly a thrash album, but they have short interludes in many of the songs. So, for example, the first song, Chaos, is just some fast-paced old-school thrash metal. But then the next 3 songs, Ansiedad, Voces en mí, y Sin Retorno, they have acoustic interludes and outros mixed with that old-school thrash sound. The song Voces en mí was one of the singles. So here's a clip of that. And this song Insomnio, and this one's pretty cool. It reminded me a lot of Metallica during their And Justice for All era. I could tell they used that album as an influence for the song. Then they slowed it down a little with the song Decepcion, which was a good song, and it had that mid-paced thrash metal groove to it, followed by an instrumental called 1845 Hours, which had some acoustic parts. This one reminded me a lot of that Metallica instrumentals, specifically Orion from Master of Puppets, and then they pick up the pace with some faster thrash. They had some peaks and valleys, had the song Sin Dolor No Hay Perdón. Then the next few songs were more melodic thrash, which were Eternamente and El Final, which is ironically not the last song, but both of those songs were good. And the last song was called Penumbra, which was only 2 minutes long. And this was another soft instrumental with this rainy backdrop. So I thought this album was very good. Glad I found it. My score is an 8 out of 10. You can tell they're influenced by thrash from the 80s, especially Metallica. So check out this band. I have one more, and this one's a little different. They're called Evilyn. The album is called Mondestrunken. They're listed as avant-garde death metal, but I also saw them listed as technical and dissonant death metal, which is probably a better description. So they seem to be one of those side projects comprised of members who are in different bands. So, for example, it has Alex Weber on bass. He's also in a tech death band called Malignancy. Has Robin Stone, who is in the progressive black metal band Ashen Horde, and Anthony Lipari, who is in a progressive death metal band called Thorin. So basically the album is filled with heavy pummeling riffs, lots of odd time signatures, lots of tempo changes. We got very fast ones, very slow ones. The vocals are death metal gutturals, and they're mixed very low. The bass guitar has a very thick sound. I don't know who to compare them to. Maybe a band like Cryptopsy, but a little more experimental. They play a lot of strange notes on the guitar that almost sound out of tune, but it's not. And here's a clip from the song Bio Viate, or however you say that. I don't know how much more to say. It's one of those albums you have to spend some time with. I'm also not the biggest tech death fan, so for me, it's a 7.5 out of 10. Let me know if you've listened to this album or this band. I might have a completely different opinion of it later on if I spend some more time with it. For now, it's okay for me. And that is all. Check out last week's episode of the New Metal Releases of August 9th. Thanks for watching. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you have not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. I will see you in the next one.